Hello and welcome to this video tutorial. Today we're looking at transforming a selection marquee in Photoshop. That's very different to transforming an actual selection. Now the image I'm using here is from somebody called Luke Stackpool from unsplash.com. It's a nice image. I've already cropped it a little bit just to fit better in my window here. Now I'm going to turn this background layer into a regular layer because that's going to make it a little bit easier for me later on to actually create a circular shape from this image. Now we're going to create a selection, and for that I'm going to use the elliptical marquee tool. So I'm just going to click on it, hold the shift key as I draw it out to create a nice circle. Now if you don't get your circle in the right place to begin with, and if you've already let go of your mouse buttons, that's just fine, because provided you're using a tool that creates a marquee selection, such as one of these tools here or even the lasso tool, you can move this around. It's just going to move just fine. The problem's going to be if you want to change its shape, make it bigger or smaller, or perhaps make it a little bit more oval. Now you might think that you could use this tool here, the move tool. It certainly has the handles available, but as soon as you start working with it, you'll see that it's actually destroying the image. What it's doing is it's taking the area that you have selected and doing something with that, rather than taking the selection, the marquee itself, and doing something with that. So I'm just going to get out of that, prove to ourselves that if we have one of these marquee creation tools selected, we're able to move it around just fine. But if we want to transform the actual marching ants, we can right click. And here from this menu, we can choose transform selection. Now don't use free transform, because free transform just gets us back into the exact same problems as we were in just a minute ago. We'll right click and we're going to use transform selection. This is going to allow us to transform the actual marching ants. So we can convert this into an oval. We can make it bigger or smaller. We can also do things like skew it. So if I right click again, you'll see that the menu has changed because we're in this transform selection mode, this transform our marching ants mode. We can do things such as skew it. So we can just grab one of the corners here and just skew it into a different shape. We can go into perspective, which will allow us to pull on this edge here and change the perspective of the edges. So there's lots that you can do in this mode: scaling, rotating, skewing, distorting, and changing it with a perspective. And you can also choose to warp it, and that will give you some warp handles that you can again adjust the basic shape. Now once you've got it looking the way you want it to look, so that your marching ants are where you want them to be, you can go ahead and then do something with your image. Now for example, what I might want to do is to remove everything except the marching ant selection. To do that, because right now what's selected is what's inside these marching ants, I'm just going to press the delete key and prove to you that that's in actual fact the case. What I want to do is to leave everything inside and delete the outside. To do that, I'll choose select and then inverse. So now everything that was selected is unselected, and everything that wasn't selected around the outside here is now selected. I'll press delete. So now I've got left behind the bit that I want to have left behind. I'm going to invert this again. Let's go to select and inverse. So my marching ants are just around this area that we've created. I want to crop to it, so I'm just going to image and then crop. And that just crops the image so that all that's left is this rectangular crop. You've got to have a rectangular crop. All images are rectangular. They can't be circular, but this has got transparency on the outside. So if we were to save it in a format that saves transparency, like Ping, for example, then it will be this sort of weird oval shape. Not quite oval because we've distorted it using those tools that we have in Photoshop for transforming an actual selection, i.e. the marching ants, rather than the selected area itself. Now there's a second way of getting to that tool. Let me just go and make another selection here for a second. You can also get to it by choosing select and then transform selection. I just find the right click a little bit easier because it gives me instant access to that tool. Before we finish up here, you'll find I have more Photoshop training at Skillshare.com. When you sign up for Skillshare, you get access to thousands of classes there, including over 250 of mine. In the description below is a Skillshare coupon for you, which is at least as good as the current Skillshare offer, and typically mine will be better. Please feel free to share this coupon with family, friends and co-workers. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've learned things about working with selections in Photoshop of which you were previously unaware. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and that notification bell so you'll be alerted when new videos are released. Until next time, my name's Helen Bradley. Thank you so much for joining me here on my YouTube channel.